Just joining us, you're on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. So we'll look at the second topic on today's episode. Of course, the NLC have directed about 14 states, including the FCT, to embark on nationwide strike for non-implementation of the 70,000 minimum wage. So what's the justification for the delay in the implementation of this minimum wage, given the fact that the cost of goods continue to rise daily? Of course, we are the Yuletide already, the Christmas celebration. A bag of rice is almost 105,000 in some states and even more in some states. Of course, this is a minimum wage that can't even afford a bag of rice. So, and yet it is not yet implemented.
There's no justification for non-implementation of the minimum wage. When you say minimum wage, what you are saying is that government at whatever level in the state must not pay below that amount. It is not the zenith of what could be paid, the minimum, just like the title says, minimum wage. And it's surprising that up to 14 states are yet to comply. There's no discussion for that. And an average Nigerian knows that even the 70,000 is not enough for the sustenance of the workers with the way the economy is presently. A bag of rice sells for over 100,000. Now, if a worker collects the 70,000, he cannot buy a bag of rice. And don't just buy a bag of rice or half bag and keep it and then be chewing it. You must cook it.
Gas, everything.
Yes. You must pay transport. That even the minimum wage is not sufficient for the sustenance of an average Nigerian worker. When these issues were being treated, we look at that, be 100,000, maybe 100 and something thousand, we looked at as something more like it. But it is surprising that 14 states and FCC are yet to comply. So, like you asked whether there's any justification, as far as concerned, there is no justification at all. And like I also said earlier, it is better to have a scenario where the states are encouraged to pay their workers according to the state's financial ability. And states, there are states, like I said, that can pay well over 70,000. Lagos State can pay more than that. River States, some other states can pay well over 100,000, maybe 150, maybe 200,000. Because what determines the amount is not what the government will be able to pay per se, but what is the purchasing power of that money. Somebody is working for a whole month, and what he gets cannot buy one bag of rice. And a man who is working and has wife and children, they must eat. Children must go to school. They must, pay for accommodation and other necessaries and incidentals of life. And you see, those at the lower cadre in government employment are those that suffer more. Those at the echelon, they have other ways of getting money, even though they are far better paid. They have allowances for their trips and so on. There are so many allowances. Yet, the average worker is begging, crying to be given 70,000. And some states are reluctant to do so. No justification, no reason. Because like we already agreed, the essence of governance is the welfare of the people. And that's why I say that the welfare of the masses is the supreme law. If the government cannot provide for the welfare and the security of the masses, there is no justification for that government. And so if NLC has already ordered their people to embark on strike in those states, I fully support that.
So,
yes, I want to say this, that to my view, the argument that a state cannot afford to pay 70,000 is most unjustified and wicked, as far as I'm concerned. And if there are states that finds themselves in that condition, that they cannot pay that minimum wage, maybe we need to look at how to shut down such states. Maybe such states should merge with other states, because what it means then is that that state is not viable.
Yes.
Any state that cannot pay 70,000 to its workers is not a state. So they should just merge up. They should merge up such states. That was the problem that was foreseen. Why some people oppose this excessive creation of states?
Yes.
Because most of the states that we have in the country today they only exist for purposes of collecting federal allocation, not for purposes of administering welfare benefits to the people. Most of the states. So maybe we need a total reconstruction of our geopolitical structure, just like my brother has said in the first version of this program, that there is a need for us to look at the Nigerian state all over again, and for us to look at how do governments generate income, and what do they do with their income. If I'm to tell you, most of the state governors are not even the one that is paying substantial part of the workers in the state. Because if you go to any state today, majority of the low income workers are actually paid by the local government, by the CDAs, all these local government structure. They employ more people than the people of the state. If you are to do a demography of how much is the number of workers that belongs to the state government, you discover that most times is almost between 55 and almost 52 or so, or maybe 60 and 40 in many of the states. So why is it that the state government cannot pay its workers? And it's not all the workers in the state that this income issue affects. Only those that are the lowest rung of the state. How many are those people that the state government will say we cannot pay? So, and I think we need to begin to now question our governors. This issue had come up before, even on this table, that maybe Nigerians need to begin to now look more at the governors rather than the federal government, because it appears as if the governors are just interested in themselves and not in their people. I don't see why any state will say we cannot pay this money after it has been agreed, and you can see the razzmatazz that went into all the agreement, all the negotiation for this 70,000 before it was arrived at. The president practically negotiated it, on behalf of the state by telling Labour that, look, if you collect 70% of this amount instead of the amount of 600 and something you are asking for, then the fuel will be brought down, and then you'll be able to benefit. The money will have value. And it was on that basis that Labour accepted the 70,000. But immediately Labour accepted the 70,000, the same government increased the prices of the crude oil. The same government that negotiated on that basis. And Labour is now out to say, look, there is no justification for you now having increased the fuel price, which was the basis for the negotiation, for accepting the 70,000. And
obviously, and there has been a corresponding increment in the allocation due to state as a result.
Yes, there are a lot of increments in the allocation. A lot of increments in the allocation.
The money that has been sharing has almost doubled since the removal of subsidy
from the federal government. So why are they not paying? Why are they not paying? So I think it's as if most of our government, they like engaging Labour in this protesting, and they can't withstand it if Labour.
No, but is it that
if Labour decides to hand down tools now, they cannot withstand.
Is it that the Nigerian people do not understand the fact that the government exists to protect their interests, or is it a situation where
it's not protecting the interests?
Or is it a situation where the government don't even understand that their primary responsibility is to protect the interests of the people?
They are just selfish and greedy.
Because it seems that there's a lack of understanding between these two players.
They don't believe their duty is to the people.
If the people understand that the government is to protect their interests, they will demand for it. if
that's
you know that
that's what Labour has been doing.
Yeah, but we'll see that there
years.
has been an aborted strikes, and even this one has been proposed. So many states have already started pulling out of the proposed December strike, which is supposed to start tomorrow. We have seen so many states pull
out of the 14.
Yes, out of the 14, they started pulling out that
It's really unfortunate.
They will not join
Then it's really
that
unfortunate.
the governors, that they are discussing with the governors, and they would.
Nothing will come out of those discussions. It has happened before.
So we have seen that the Labour has been very toothless in.
And that's the point they want to get Labour to get to, where Labour is weakened.
Now, you see that in Nigeria, sometimes we misplace the priorities. Yes, like we all know that the governors have been getting more than what they were getting before. What are they doing with that money? It's because that any governor that gets there usually thinks and plan on how to siphon stupendous amount of money to keep for generations yet unborn. Imagine the amount of money that the EFCC have recovered from some of these past governors. Why should that be so? When a governor has stolen billions, they cannot afford to give to the workers miserly, beggarly 70,000.
Yeah, because some of them, their dog oil consume up to 1 million a month.
Yeah.
So how come they can't pay 70,000 for workers?
Yeah.
So we need to hold the governors and the government at the state level accountable. We can't just keep on folding our arms and allow the parade go by. We are seeing what is happening. The governors are reaching out to the labor leaders in their various states.
Yes.
Don't put us to
Shame.
And disgrace. Don't worry, we are working on it. And and some of those leaders in those states may be gratified, and they will say, okay, don't worry, they will go and talk to their people and so on. At the end of the day, they don't know that they are compromising the future of generations yet unborn. Because if you cannot stand for what is right, you have no reason
being a labor leader.
Yes.
You have no reason being
there. You have no reason being there in the first place. So what I believe is that if in any state the labor leaders there are not ready to go ahead, the NLC can mobilize and go there. Yes.
Okay. There, of course, we are almost out of time. We'll take let's take your last word.
One last word. You see, it has come. The time has come that the Nigerian labor needs to brazen up, because unfortunately there are infiltrations. There are people who are inside that labor union who are also agents of government. No doubt about it. And some of them are on the payroll of government. But the active unit, the nucleus of the labor, should know if you have a leader that is not responsive and is not willing, is a sign that is eating from the government. So such leaders should be packed aside, and they should do whatever they want to do to make their protest known. Because if that is not done, we may have this state, this state of pacifism. And once pacifism comes into labor union, the entire labor, the entire employment process, the entire collective bargaining process will be dead. And at the end of the day, the Nigerian people will be the worse off for it.
All right.
On my part, what I say as a parting shot is that the proposed tax bill should be put on hold. Let the proper structure for this country be put in place
first.
Then let things move on. And then concerning the state that are refused to pay the minimum wage, that cannot even sustain any family, the labor must ensure that they embark on strike to compel the erring governors to do what they have taken oath to do.
All right. Thank you for your insightful analysis.